have a great time listening to the story. If you enjoy it, don't forget to give me a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I've come back to life. Leaning against the miniature landscape rocks, I can see the full moon hanging high above, casting down its cold, clear light. Ever since Marcus' crown gouged out my eyes, it's been so long since I've seen the moonlight. At this moment, I don't even dare breathe heavily. I'm afraid this is just another illusory dream. The crown prince is drunk and currently lying in Mind Hall. My entire body stiffens. That's Jade's voice, the personal maid close to Marcus. That year, at the wine banquet in the Eastern Palace, I got drunk with a headache like hammers pounding. Hearing Jade's words, I wanted to avoid the crown prince and secretly sneak away to rest in a side hall. Who knew that Marcus had been drugged with sleeping powder in his wine and was pretending to sleep there? The Western Heaven Hall became the beginning of my nightmare. That night, the mournful cries of a woman echoed from within the Heaven Hall, tearing apart the quiet night of the Eastern Palace. I begged desperately, tears flowing endlessly, even my bones trembling, just pleading for him to let me go. At that time, Marcus was like a wild beast gone mad. The next day, Marcus finally sobered up, but it was already too late. This scandalous incident quickly spread throughout the imperial palace. His Majesty flew into a thunderous rage. To dispel the evil rumors, an imperial edict was issued. I, a small woman, became Marcus's concubine, also becoming a veil to cover the royal family's shame. Afterward, Marcus was rejected by the person in his heart for marriage. He went mad, drew his sword and stormed into my chambers. Sophia Chen, you've ruined me. Now the entire capital is watching and laughing at me. Are you happy? I stubbornly argued back. Your Highness, the one who was ruined is clearly me. Marcus was angered by my words. He raised his hand, the sword tip pointing straight at my eyes. If it wasn't for your scheming and framing, how could you have the right to stand before me? Don't use those filthy eyes to look at me. If there's a next time, I'll gouge them out. I was stunned. So he hated me for this reason. Later, Marcus personally gouged out my eyes for the person in his heart, Isabella Grant. Before I fainted from the pain, I couldn't distinguish whether it was blood or tears flowing. I just kept asking Marcus what exactly had done wrong. Isabella came close to me, leaning near my ear to say, Sophia, appearing at the Eastern Palace that night was your biggest mistake. Coming back to my senses, I was startled to realize I was already drenched in cold sweat. Isabella was right. If I hadn't appeared at the Eastern Palace that night, naturally there wouldn't have been the nightmare that followed. I tried hard to calm myself. Sophia, don't be afraid. Everything has started over from the beginning. As long as you can avoid Marcus now, quickly escape from this place, everything can still be salvaged. I leaned on the miniature landscape rocks to stand up, enduring the dizziness as I walked out. But before I could take many steps, I saw Marcus wearing purple brocade robes slowly approaching. Why is he here at this time? Shouldn't he be at the Heaven Hall sobering up? I was startled and quickly hid in the bushes by the lotus pond. Marcus seemed to hear some movement and unsteadily stopped, apparently raising his hand to listen. I tried hard to shrink myself into a ball, afraid of being discovered. Marcus suddenly stirred as if sensing something. He carried the smell of wine as he walked toward where I was hiding. Damn it. I absolutely cannot be discovered. I didn't dare look anymore, hurriedly covering my eyes. After a while, when the footsteps seemed to have disappeared, I slowly lowered my hands. Marcus's face suddenly appeared right in front of me. He squatted down, maintaining the same posture as me, tilting his head to look at me. In those eyes was full of wicked teasing. Sophia, did you think hiding here I wouldn't find you? That voice seemed to come from hell, terrifying me to shatter my courage. Ah, I screamed. At the same time, I raised the embroidered shoe I had been clutching tightly for a long time and fiercely threw it at Marcus's face. Marcus sat squatting there like a toad with his eyes covered. I took the opportunity to scramble and run. Sophia, how dare you hit me with your shoe sole? The angry roar of his voice quickly transmitted from behind. Along the lotus pond I ran desperately. In my previous life, that night at the Eastern Palace was the first time Marcus met me. But just now, he called my name correctly. Has Marcus also been reborn? I didn't dare think further. The footsteps behind seemed to be getting closer and closer. After a corner turn, someone's black robe suddenly appeared in my sight. I couldn't dodge in time and crashed into them. That person was knocked back by my headbutt for a while. Only when he saw my face clearly did he show some surprise. Where did this fierce beauty come from? Looks quite pretty actually. Good thing I have a strong build to withstand the impact, otherwise. There's no more time. Marcus is about to catch up. I suddenly hugged the man in front of me, gritting my teeth and saying, "This, sir, I'm truly sorry." Before finishing my words, I pulled him sliding down into the lotus pond beside us. The moonlight shone on the man's face, his surprised expression appearing clearly. Lucas Shaw. I didn't expect it to be him. I was slightly startled. "Hey, what are you trying to—" Before he could finish speaking, I had already pulled him falling down into the lotus pond. In my mind, I finally remembered this face was that General Lucas, who had achieved great merit in a certain battle. Every time returning triumphantly from campaigns, he would ride his white horse proudly passing through the capital's streets. The young man wearing iron armor, with handsome features, proud and passionate eyes, as if having an unyielding strong spirit. But if I remember correctly, 1 month later, Lucas would die on the battlefield. Even his corpse couldn't remain, only a severed hand was brought back. The cause of death was unclear. How pitiful for the entire Shaw family, loyal and heroic through generations, all wearing mourning clothes. Old Master Shaw's hair turned white as silver overnight, so it seems Lucas is also quite miserable. He's no better than me by much. Though I felt sorry in my heart, for the sake of my life, I still had to pull him into the water. No matter what, I absolutely don't want to return to being Marcus's prisoner. I desperately want to survive. I'm truly sorry, Lucas, I silently recited in my heart. This time using you as a cushion, I promise to work like an ox or horse to repay you. Splash. The cold water swallowed us. Water rushed into my nasal cavity. I struggled hard a few times, but my body was too heavy to float up. Just when I thought I might drown like this, Lucas's hand suddenly reached out from the water. He supported my waist with one hand, using strength to lift me up until he got me onto the shore. I trembled, hugging my soaking wet body tightly, watching the palace servants who heard the commotion running to help, and also a group from the Shaw household. I finally smiled slightly. I had bet correctly. The Chen family's second daughter's life was like grass, but General Lucas's life was very valuable. The common people always respected and called him the Marquis of Hang River. Second Miss indeed can divine the future like a god. A cloak suddenly appeared on my shoulders. It was Lucas. He took the cloak that a servant brought over and directly gave it to me. I touched the thick cloak on my body, still dazed. Lucas's face was slightly red. That, just now in the water, was too presumptuous, but I really wanted to save you. You're not angry, are you? He wasn't angry at me. Instead, he was concerned about me first. Why? It had been so very long since anyone had asked me like this. My character had been trampled, my bones crushed, living like a dog. It had also been so very long. A thread of warmth rose in my heart, but the corners of my eyes also stung. I tried hard to suppress and not shed tears. A gaze suddenly looked toward me. I instinctively looked in that direction. Marcus was standing outside the crowd, his expression terrifyingly gloomy. He was staring fixedly at me. Even if Marcus glared through me, it would be useless. Every time he used that resentful gaze to look at me, it was a sign that his rage was about to explode. My body trembled instinctively. But for the first time, I gathered all my courage, straightened my back, and looked directly into Marcus's eyes. He was slightly stunned, seeming somewhat not expecting it. After that, his expression became even more gloomy. He waved his sleeve and left, disappearing into the crowd. I breathed a sigh of relief. Though my whole body was soaking wet, the night wind blowing across made me cold to the bone. But at this moment, my heart felt comfortable as never before. The night wind gently swept across my face. I closed my eyes, greedily enjoying it. I almost shed tears. I almost forgot. There should be no sound of crying, also no pain. The night before marrying into the Eastern Palace should have been peaceful like this, right? Without a bit of fear. Hey, don't cry anymore. Lucas suddenly panicked. So I had been crying. I lowered my head, my hands tightly in the cloak ribbon, even my nails digging deep into my palms without realizing it. Lucas's ears were still flushed red, his face full of guilt. It's all my fault, making you cry. If you hate me for my abrupt actions in the water, just scold me. I have thick skin, it's no problem. Because General Shaw, who was usually so bold and heroic, was now afraid of my tears to this extent, showing a clumsy and flustered appearance trying to cope. Deputy General, why is she crying worse than this? Was I too fierce? Lucas was flustered, quietly asking a bearded man beside him. The big fellow also scratched his head and ears, thinking for a long while. This, every time I make my wife cry. As long as I let her beat me up once it's over. Lucas seemed to wake up from a dream. I was afraid he would move his face closer for me to hit, so I quickly wiped my tears. After standing up, with both hands on my waist, I knelt down, prostrating on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly before him. This young woman has sinned. Please punish me, General. Before pulling Lucas into the lotus pond, I had thought very carefully. If I pulled him into the water, Marcus certainly wouldn't dare act rashly. General Lucas would be an excellent life-protecting talisman. Doing this, the worst result I'd have to face would just be being killed by his sword, blood dyeing the lotus pond red. Such an ending would still be better than dying rotten in the Eastern Palace. I truly am a petty person who had already harbored calculating thoughts to approach him. But Lucas's straightforwardness made me even more ashamed. That's also why, after hearing him finish speaking, in my heart I felt both worried and guilty. If Sir doesn't mind, this young woman is willing to work as a slave and maid. Seeing me stop crying, Lucas breathed a sigh of relief. He helped me stand up, laughing heartily. A daughter of the Chen family being a maid for a rough person like me would truly be too unfortunate for you. So he actually knew me. Before I could speak up, Lucas laughed and said, "Moreover, the pond shore is slippery at night. Just now I also slipped and happened to see you not standing steadily and slipping into the water, so I voluntarily jumped down to save you. Since I was willing, why blame you?" At this moment, the young man's sharp, handsome eyebrows were even more moving than the moonlight. Lucas clearly knew I did it on purpose but didn't expose it. He wanted to preserve face for me, and even in front of so many people took all the responsibility upon himself. I stood there dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. Lucas continued speaking. "Just now you were walking in such a hurry, must be because you were afraid being alone in the dark night. Walk slowly this time. I'll hold a lantern to escort you back." So the scene of me scrambling and running for my life had also been seen by him. He even saw through that I was afraid. Lucas of course didn't know what significance his helping hand had. It was just that I had already lived through one life again, standing at the ending of fate, clearly understanding that it was precisely his appearance tonight that saved me once. I wanted to kneel down again to thank him, but was pulled back by Lucas. "No need to kneel before me. It's just a small matter, don't worry about it." On the way back, I don't know if it was because of Lucas and Deputy Stone or not, but I didn't see any shadow of Marcus at all, so the worry weighing heavily in my heart finally dissipated. Tonight would definitely pass peacefully and safely. Escorting second miss to here is enough. Stopping before the flower garden gate, Lucas bid farewell to me. He smiled, his eyes shining brightly. What should I do? At this moment, an idea suddenly flashed in my mind. Perhaps only this could repay Lucas. "Thank you for today. It's just that after we part, General Shaw will return to Hangnan City, right?" I pretended to ask as if unintentionally. Hangnan City was where Lucas stationed troops year-round. That place was surrounded by 2 rivers. He himself was best at water battles, and also protected the peace of the people in that region. The common people always respectfully called him the Marquis of Hang River. Second miss indeed can divine matters like abroad. Lucas smiled broadly. I continued making up a story. "I know how to read palm fortunes. Why don't I read a fortune for the general's safe journey before you depart?" I took the palace lantern from Deputy Stone's hand, while with the other hand pulling Lucas's sleeve, pretending to lift up his hand to examine it carefully. On Lucas's hands were calluses from practicing martial arts year-round, and also several rough scars. All these years alone at Hangnan City, he must have suffered quite a bit of hardship. A person who devoted himself completely to the people like this, yet had such a tragic ending. Thinking of his miserable fate in the previous life, I couldn't help becoming lost in thought. I heard that after Lucas died in battle, only a severed hand remained, precisely this hand, right? If he was still conscious then, having his hand chopped off would definitely be very painful. "Looking for so long like this, what have you seen yet?" The clear voice of that person suddenly rang by my ear. I came back to my senses and answered him. This fortune, I cannot speak of it conveniently. Usually such vague fortunes all implied life and death. Lucas must have already understood my hidden meaning, right? I said. Sir, 1 month later, you will encounter a calamity that threatens your life. You must be careful. Light would be broken arms and legs. Heavy would be encountering bloodshed disaster. I didn't know the complete details clearly, couldn't speak out more specifics. I only remembered at that time I was locked in a secret chamber. That day 2 young palace maids came to deliver food for me. On their faces were all sorrowful expressions. What they discussed was precisely that young general who suddenly died in battle. Everyone felt pity for General Lucas. At this moment I could only try my best to remind Lucas. Would he believe me? I was somewhat worried. Lucas took the palace lantern from my hand, raising an eyebrow and smiling. Every time I go on expeditions, grandmother always finds people to tell fortunes, making incense and pricking blood for me, exhausting me. But not once did it work overall. So I don't believe in these things much. But thank you for kindly reminding me. I will pay attention. Otherwise having you carry such a heavy 4-cornered lantern, also staring with eyes so wide reading palms for me, wouldn't that be wasted effort? He smiled, squinting his eyes. Clearly he didn't take it to heart. I angrily said, you don't believe other people, fine, but my fortune telling is very accurate. This person truly is stubborn. I could only pray in my heart that Lucas could truly hear and take in the words I said. Really very accurate. Not knowing why, Lucas suddenly became interested. He suddenly rolled up his sleeve, extending his other hand out, also spreading his palm before me. If it's already that accurate while we're at it, why don't you read my romantic fortune for me too? I never expected General Lucas to pull this move. Having no choice, I had to pretend to divine like spirits and ghosts, looking over and over at his palm. Only after that did I slowly speak up. The general's romantic fate is also not bad. Your wife is a noble young lady from a high family with a wide gate. Love at first sight upon meeting, even more infatuated when meeting again. You two have mutual affection and understanding, an incomparably well-matched pair. I thought to myself, saying it like this surely couldn't be wrong. Who doesn't like hearing nice words, right? Indeed, Lucas seemed very satisfied. But I didn't expect the slap in the face to come so quickly. Lucas couldn't help but leave. The next day, 2 memorial reports shocked the entire court. One was submitted by the current Crown Prince Marcus, about expressing his desire to propose marriage to Prime Minister Grant's legitimate daughter. His sincere feelings caused people to be moved. The other memorial report was written by my father. Every word in father's memorial was like blood dripping at the tip of the heart. The main idea was General Lucas had jumped into water to save me before everyone. When pulling me up, he was still hugging me tightly. Though it was a good action, it had ruined my reputation. If he didn't marry me, truly the Chen family would have no face left. I didn't expect a small second daughter like me, who normally wasn't valued by father, at this moment could actually play such a big role. In my previous life, I was violated by Marcus for one night. Father also immediately submitted a memorial making a fuss about this matter to the court. I didn't expect his way of doing things this time would be exactly the same as the previous life. How did I forget about this matter? Things having come to this point, I could only silently pray that His Majesty was a wise person. This time, 10,000 times over, don't grant marriages carelessly. Lucas had saved me. I remember he already had a marriage agreement or had someone in his heart. What if I ruined his romantic fate? Wouldn't I be someone who repays kindness with enmity? The more I thought, the more anxious I became, unable to eat well or sleep peacefully. Despite that, 3 days later His Majesty still waved his hand granting marriage for me and Lucas. The previous marriage matter with Marcus was a forbidden taboo that couldn't be mentioned in the 9-layered palace. On the contrary, this time in the capital, the heroic story of Lucas saving the beauty even circulated. I also directly became his official wife. Staring at the bright golden silk paper, I completely gave up struggling. At this moment, after receiving the imperial edict, Lucas must be cursing me fiercely in his heart, right? What noble young lady from a high family with wide gates, what love at first sight. Clearly Lucas had an unlucky disaster star like me fall on his head. With an incomparably worried mood, I was married into the Shaw family. Sitting in the bridal chamber, I was nervous to the point I could clearly hear my own heartbeat. So you tell me, is the Chen family's second daughter beautiful or not? Outside suddenly rang out a youthful arguing voice. I held my breath, got down from the bed and went to the door, pressing my ear against it to eavesdrop. That Chen family's second daughter usually always stays in her boudoir. It seems no one has ever met her before, and she has no reputation. With her status becoming your official wife, it has already made you feel aggrieved. After listening for a while, though intermittent, I also understood the general idea. I thought these must be invited guests talking. Though they were drunk and their words weren't pleasant to hear, they were all the truth. So Lucas must have noticed too, right? A thread of soreness rose in my heart. I turned my body intending to leave. Lucas, are you crazy? The man from earlier scolded softly. Following was the sound of something heavy. Was Lucas knocked down? I was somewhat worried, and wanted to push open the room door to look, but the veil hadn't been lifted yet. The ceremony also hadn't ended. Rushing out like this truly wouldn't be like the etiquette of a new bride. If seen by others, it would add even more mockery, so my footsteps just stopped there. At the same time, a familiar voice rang out outside. Lucas's voice, mixed with the color of drunkenness but cold and distant. What kind of person she is, I don't need to hear others say. The words just ended, everyone fell silent. Sophia has already stepped into the Shaw family's door, then she is precisely my person. My person, whether in heaven or on earth, is all better than any other person. If you feel she has something not good, then gouge out your own eyes. Who gave you the guts to dare come before me and speak ill of her? The person who just misspoke woke up with a start, realizing he had said the wrong words, hurriedly continuously begging for forgiveness. Lucas seemed to lose patience, making a soft hissing sound. After that he lowered his voice. What are you crying and wailing noisily here for? Don't let her hear it. She's very timid, she'll be scared by this appearance of yours. Get lost quickly. His words entered my ears, like someone using a finger to gently tap on my heart. I hugged my chest, my heart beating thump-thump. After that I hurriedly pretended as if I hadn't heard anything, retreated to the wedding bed and obediently sat down. Creak, the door was pushed open. Lucas's footsteps grew closer and closer. Have you been waiting long? His voice had already changed, becoming much gentler, very different from the cold General Shaw outside in the courtyard just now. Like nothing had ever happened. Lucas held the jade roi, hurriedly lifting up the wedding veil on my head. General, doing this doesn't match ceremonial etiquette. The person before me had flushed cheeks, eyes shining brightly. Those pair of eyes looking at me sparkled like water. This person really drank wrong. At this moment, no matter what I said, he wouldn't be able to hear. I showed a shy manner. Only then did he sober up a bit more, turning to sit down not far away. His eyes were still bright and sharp. I just came in from outside. My body is still a bit cold. First let me sit a bit farther from you. At this time in the bridal chamber, it was warm with red candles burning. I could also feel Lucas had been continuously staring fixedly at my face. He suddenly spoke up. That day, seeing you wearing a white outfit, I even thought you were a divine maiden stepping out from the water pond. Today, wearing such bright gorgeous colors like that also very much suits you. Indeed, above heaven below earth, no one is more beautiful than my bride. By the window, plop with a sound, a piece of candle fell down. I was startled. Only at this moment did I realize since Lucas stepped through the door, I had continuously been very tense. Lucas laughed softly, walking toward me. I immediately straightened my back. Sweat poured down like rain. The ceremony has already been completed. So then the following steps naturally cannot be avoided. Thinking of the wedding night, thinking of the matters that would happen after blowing out the candles, a cold feeling couldn't help climbing up my spine, making me unable to stop shivering. Those matters in my eyes were never joyful gut affairs, but rather torture, rather pain. Beneath the loose and spacious wedding dress, I tried hard to restrain my trembling. But the person before me was my benefactor, also my legitimate husband. Looking at the drunk Lucas before me, I used strength to persuade myself. The candles in the room were blown out, sinking into darkness. That rough hand touched my clothing buttons. Lucas's kiss just fell down like that. I closed my eyes. On that night too, it was also such a kiss heavy with the smell of wine like this. Brutal, tearing my lips to pieces. Clothes disheveled on the ground. I was also like a withered, wilted flower. It seemed not just that night. In the dead of night when hands and feet were bound in the dark room, Marcus liked most to grab my hair, forcing me to raise my head up. Sophia, suddenly I discovered actually you're also not bad. Though your status is lowly, this face can temporarily be considered passable. Don't believe it? Look at your crying appearance in the bronze mirror, it's truly very interesting. Looks like a female dog wagging its tail begging. Really. Those vicious evil words echoing in that late night were like knives bit by bit cutting and tearing my self-respect. Now they were destroying Lucas's gentleness. That familiar nauseating feeling rushed straight into my nasal cavity. I couldn't endure it anymore. The next second I pushed Lucas out, covered my mouth and ran out of the room. Don't know how long I vomited. My heart finally felt more comfortable. After returning to the room, only then did I discover Lucas was holding a cup of water, had been continuously watching my back shadow. I received it and drank it all in one breath, only felt that just now I had committed a big mistake. I guiltily knelt down at Lucas's feet, beginning to apologize. Just now completely ruining the general's interest was me not matching etiquette. Truly deserving death 10,000 times. I hope the general will be magnanimous and forgive me this time. Now I'll go wash and clean up again. If the general doesn't mind, we can continue. I began to undo my own clothing buttons. The movements were both hurried and rough. Lucas had sobered up more than half. He frowned looking at me, one hand pulling my arm. Sophia, from the first time meeting you, it seems you're always kneeling down. Just now you hid behind the door eavesdropping for very long. In the end still wouldn't come out. Also, clearly not liking me kissing you, now you want to please me like this. These things, surely they're not also for etiquette and something like that, right? I froze in place. All thoughts at this moment now all couldn't be concealed. Keeping order also isn't the same as keeping rules like this. Do you truly like binding yourself? Just finishing speaking, Lucas imitated my appearance, lifting up his robe hem, leisurely kneeling on the ground. Sir, what are you doing? I panicked standing up, using strength to pull him up. How could I let Lucas kneel before me? But Lucas practiced martial arts year-round, how could I pull him up? I don't like being evasive and vague when talking and doing things. I like being frank and straightforward. He raised my hand again. Why not tonight we make all matters clear? Like this, for both me and you it's all good. Though our marriage contract was granted by His Majesty, I feel you're very agreeable to me. I don't reject this marriage matter. As for you, if you already have someone in your heart, truly don't want to, when I find an opportunity I'll report to His Majesty requesting to cancel the marriage. His words were truly very straightforward. Even the matter of having interest in me was also said clearly and openly. Being so frank and straightforward, if you're willing then also please don't mind. I come from the military ranks, my conduct is crude and reckless. We still have long days and broad months afterward. Why not slowly understand each other? Lucas raised his head up. That pair of eyes looked at me in a serious manner. Sophia, are you willing to live together with me or not? That gaze was clear and limpid, containing stars I had never seen before, also bringing an indescribable feeling of reassurance to people. My heart's thoughts just moved, my mouth had already spoken out the answer. I'm willing. He seemed to be a person who could be trusted. Lucas smiled. The stars in his eyes became even more brilliant, he loudly said. Also, the Shaw family doesn't have many rules and customs like that. Afterward, this place is precisely your home. So I hope you can be relaxed a bit. All matters have me to protect and complete for you. Afterward, don't kneel down for no reason like this anymore. If you can't change it, then every time you kneel facing me once, I'll also kneel facing you once. The festive celebratory clothing of his was stained with dirt on the ground surface, looking like me, somewhat disheveled. Whether in the boudoir or after marrying into the Eastern Palace in the previous life, I had long ago become accustomed to living carefully and cautiously. When small, not listening to words would mean being starved, being beaten by father. Then afterward, not listening to words would make Marcus unhappy. When he was unhappy was precisely when I began to suffer. He suddenly leaned close to me, speaking in a lowered voice. Did you hear clearly? The warm breath blew onto my hand. I felt somewhat itchy, shrinking my neck back, nodding my head repeatedly. Right. Lucas seemed to remember something, again smiling broadly, leaning close. Next time if I can't help it and kiss you again, then don't be angry with me, alright? Afterward can I sleep on the bed tonight? I was silent for a long while. Lucas thought I was angry, hurriedly explaining. Don't misunderstand. That small auxiliary bed is too small. I'm this tall, lying down hurts my back terribly. The weather is getting cold. 2 people sleeping together will be warmer. I sleep very well. Before letting him finish speaking, I had already circled around to before him, standing on tiptoes, closing my eyes. The moment warm lips touched, I quietly wrapped my arms embracing Lucas's waist. Though this kiss was very brief, when opening my eyes, Lucas's face seemed even redder. He stood dumbfounded in place, on his face revealing a silly foolish smile. Indeed, it turns out the Shaw family people all are like this. After that, I finally came to understand why Lucas had such a sincere and straightforward personality. It was because the Shaw family people were all like this. They were open-minded and lovely, doing everything according to their own wishes. Old Madame Shaw loved me from the first time I served tea, praising me for being beautiful and obedient, always pulling me close to chat. She also said she had previously found many masters to read Lucas's romantic fortune, but every time the masters said Lucas had no romantic fate line, saying perhaps the person destined for him, hadn't appeared in this world yet, needed to wait for fate. Now that I, the person destined for him, had appeared, old Madame Shaw was extremely relieved and happy, thanking heaven and earth. Finally someone could control this monkey Lucas. Lucas sat beside listening, feeling extremely wronged. Grandmother, I'm the Marquise of Hen River from Hangnan, not some monkey. Can't you say something nice about your grandson in front of Sophia? Old Madame Shaw immediately understood, taking my hand and speaking kindly. All right. Then let's talk about something more impressive. This little brat, the first time he practiced sword, accidentally cut his father's belt. In front of the entire Hangnan navy, his father's pants fell down revealing his white bottom, almost angering his father to death. But the most interesting thing was old Madame Shaw, though over 50, still woke up every morning with the rooster's crow to practice. I often saw before dawn, grandmother and grandson already practicing together in the courtyard. Old Madame Shaw wielded a long spear, Lucas practiced sword. Both had agile figures, graceful as flying swans, powerful as soaring dragons and dancing phoenixes. I heard old Madame Shaw was also an impressive female general when young, and even now one could still see her bearing from those years. Little Han, my personal maid, softly sighed, Madam, you don't know, the Shaw family now only has old Madam and General Shaw left. Everyone else died on the battlefield. The Shaw family for generations have been devoted couples, never taking concubines, so descendants were already few. After so many years of war, they became even more sparse. They were the best masters I had ever met, but also the most pitiful people. These two sentences once again woke me up. My smile stiffened, my heart filled with gloom. The scene before me was clearly very beautiful, but 1 month later, no, less than a month from now, not only would Lucas die, old Madame Shaw would also be unable to bear the shock, her hair turning white overnight, withering away. The Shaw family would collapse in an instant, so Lucas must absolutely remain safe. As long as he lived, that tragedy wouldn't happen. I must do something for him. 7 days later, after our wedding ceremony, Lucas and I had to enter the palace according to custom to pay respects to His Majesty. While walking, I suddenly bumped into a palace servant. Lucas quickly supported me, looking left and right, his face extremely tense. I couldn't help but be amused by him. Lucas, she just bumped into me, not stabbed me. Don't be so tense. He withdrew his expression, raising an eyebrow to answer, not allowed in front of me. If someone really dared hurt you, speaking to here, he smiled ambiguously. Lucas raised his hand, spreading his palm to describe a sharp curve at the neck. Then it would be like this. The person before me tilted his head, eyes flashing with brilliant light. I knew he was reassuring me. I nodded hard, taking advantage of when he wasn't paying attention. I secretly opened the paper note in my hand. This was what the palace servant who bumped into me had stuffed into my hand. Perhaps she wanted to pass me a message, so she bumped into me. 1 month later, your husband will encounter life-threatening danger. If you want to save him, come alone to meet me at the Eastern Palace. The last sentence struck hard at my heart. My blood seemed to freeze, that person's detestable face appearing in my mind. I could even imagine after writing this note, he would use that sick smile to slowly stroke each dried character. I slowly walked into the Eastern Palace, each step filled with unease and worry, until that familiar figure in purple robes appeared again in my sight. Marcus turned around, his eyes flashing with excited light, looking at me with burning gaze. You really came. You also have memories from before, don't you? It wasn't a dream. I lowered my head, avoiding that burning gaze. Your Highness the Crown Prince, I don't understand what you're saying. Marcus laughed coldly. Sophia, stop pretending. That day was clearly our first meeting, yet you were so terrified of me. Today, seeing this note, you believed it without doubt and immediately came here. That day you deliberately pulled Lucas into the water, wasn't it to use him to avoid me? And today you came here because you know Lucas will die in a month, right? Marcus suddenly pulled me into his embrace, staring into my eyes, smiling sinisterly. He began reminiscing about the past. Extending his hand, he gently touched my eyes. These eyes are truly beautiful. No wonder even after being reborn, I still kept dreaming of you. That disgusting feeling unconsciously spread throughout my body, making me stiffen. I gripped his wrist tightly but couldn't push him away. Marcus only held on tighter, pinching my chin until it was red and swollen. But Sophia, do you know? This time His Majesty agreed to your marriage with Lucas, yet rejected my proposal to Isabella. Can you tell me why? Marcus loved Isabella. Isabella was the only legitimate daughter of Prime Minister Grant, pampered like a precious pearl since childhood, spoiled to the extreme. So even the most glorious wealth in the world, she deserved to have. She didn't want to share her husband with any other woman, only wanting one person for life. Isabella said if Marcus couldn't meet these conditions, then their engagement could be cancelled at any time. He had worked so hard to please her, yet because of me accidentally becoming his concubine, the engagement with Isabella was cancelled. Later, Isabella married the new top scholar. But later I accidentally caught them kissing, and they discovered me. I remember Isabella was extremely panicked and wronged, blaming Marcus, saying it was all his fault. Since he had promised, he shouldn't come to provoke her anymore. Now everything was ruined. She cried like pure blossoms in the rain, perhaps feeling her life was about to be ruined by me. And I kept begging for forgiveness beside them, kowtowing until my head bled. But Marcus, to give her a promise, still gouged out my eyes. Sophia, you've always been ignorant of the rules. Then let me discipline you for yourself. Marcus wasn't just a beast, but a heartless madman. After losing my eyes, I only wanted to die. Marcus discovered my suicidal intentions and locked me in a secret chamber, cutting my hand and foot tendons, completely isolating me from the outside world. Every time he was angered by Isabella, after returning to the secret chamber in the Eastern Palace, he would vent his anger on me doubly. But how ironic, being reborn, I was no longer an obstacle between them. He had successfully written the proposal memorial, yet it was rejected by His Majesty. Marcus and Isabella are destined not to become husband and wife. Because this is your retribution. Since he had already seen through me, I didn't want to pretend anymore. I only felt endless anger. Previously you and I had never met. Why did you dare covet the position of concubine? Even using despicable means of drugging. If you had properly investigated, perhaps you would have found out who was really behind it, instead of wrongly accusing me. Marcus smiled coldly. Why should I investigate? That drug was originally put by me, just intended for Isabella to drink. I widened my eyes in disbelief. So this was the truth. Marcus knew from beginning to end that I hadn't schemed against him. She's the Grant family's legitimate daughter. Besides her proud and willful personality, in other aspects she's the most suitable woman to be empress. Can't I love her? Marcus played with the red jade pendant, speaking indifferently. The other princes have begun having thoughts at court. My foundation isn't stable. As long as she's devoted to me, the power behind her will definitely belong to me one day. It's just a pity every time we argue, she demands to break the engagement. Really troublesome. You women, whether noble or lowly, are essentially the same. Only submission can truly conquer women. I repeated Marcus's words, feeling cold all over. He was indeed a scoundrel. I once thought at least he had some genuine feelings for Isabella. But now it seemed if one truly loved someone, how could they disregard their reputation and do such things to them? Marcus, why? I tried hard to suppress my trembling voice. Why did I gouge out your eyes? Just to please Isabella. As for cutting your tendons and imprisoning you, no reason. Just wanted to torment you. Marcus curled his lips. Need a reason. Perhaps this is the tyrannical and twisted nature of villains, never needing any reason. My body clearly had no injuries from before anymore, but after hearing him speak, I still felt itchy and painful. I steadied my spirit. What you said in the note, is it true? How exactly will Lucas die? Is there a way to save him? Marcus spread his hands helplessly. Just testing you. Even if I knew, why should I tell you? But it seems you care about Lucas more than I thought. Could it be you've really fallen for that martial brute? He laughed coldly. Hearing him speak of Lucas like that, I took a step back. You're moody and unpredictable, cruel beyond measure, deeply scheming. Everyone in the Eastern Palace fears you, calling you a mad dog behind your back. But Lucas is different. He's better than you in every way. So what if I like him? Moreover, since you could think of using Isabella, His Majesty naturally could too. He probably wants to check you. I smiled softly. No wonder you have to rely on women to maintain your position. Useless, incompetent, virtueless. Can't even understand such simple logic. Truly an idiot. Marcus was provoked to anger by me. He reached out to grab my collar. Know that you have backing, you dare speak to me like this. Today I called you here precisely to let you know what I can't have. You shouldn't hope to have either. If he couldn't have Isabella, then he wouldn't let me live well either. I should have thought of this earlier. I struggled frantically to break free from Marcus's control, slapping him. But he just shamelessly moved closer, grabbing my hand. Sophia, you'd better make a big scene. Call everyone here to see what the general's wife looks like with disabled clothes in my arms. Or come find me every night like before. When Lucas dies, I'll have achievements and take you as a concubine. Not bad either. Those disgusting words made my head numb. I wanted to vomit, my eyes also stung. I tried hard to hold back tears. If I cried, Marcus would really be pleased. Cry. Why aren't you crying? Seeing me like this, Marcus's expression changed, extremely displeased. Suddenly I saw a cold light suddenly appear at Marcus's neck. Marcus's body stiffened, releasing my hand. I saw Lucas standing behind Marcus. At this moment, Lucas's eyebrows were slightly furrowed, his expression cold. He opened his mouth coldly saying, "She's timid, you scared her. Sophia, come here." He extended his hand toward me. At this moment, everything around seemed to fade. Only Lucas's handsome face remained, like a deity, his posture saving me from the sea of suffering. The crown prince struggled to slowly turn around. On his neck was an extremely glaring blood mark, but Lucas didn't lower his sword because of this. A woman's mournful cries absolutely aren't decorations for your achievements. Lucas said word by word. I was afraid he would really act against Marcus, quickly pulling his sleeve. Lucas, don't be impulsive. He turned his head, reassuring in holding my hand. But immediately after, a tearing sound rang out. Lucas had cut off half of Marcus's sleeve. Though he dodged in time, Marcus's hand was still cut. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the cut fabric and his continuously bleeding hand, not even crying out in pain. I remember since young you've been weak like a baby. Every time the princes fought, you only knew how to cry, not daring to fight back. Still so cowardly now. Lucas mocked, on his handsome face was undisguised contempt. But since you didn't fight back when young, now if I kill you with one sword, it's very reasonable. Lucas. I'm the crown prince. How dare you? Marcus was so angry his eyes seemed about to split. Lucas disdainfully wiped the blood from his sword and sheathed it. Crown prince, if His Majesty knew what you've done, do you think this crown prince position would still be yours? Don't use your power to threaten me. I don't believe it, and don't care. Today it's your sleeve. Tomorrow it'll be your dog head. Marcus. Lucas smiled softly. On the way back, he didn't speak. I worried in my heart, guessing Lucas was probably angry. While hesitating, not knowing how to speak to him, unexpectedly just at the palace gate he suddenly spoke first. Sophia, actually that night I came from your and Marcus's direction. Then I saw you two seem to be having a dispute. A bit worried, so I came back. So that day wasn't a coincidence, I was stunned. Then I heard Lucas seriously ask, "The person you've always been afraid of, is it him?" I heard my own hoarse voice. Yes. The crown prince and I indeed have some past matters. He loathes me, so always makes trouble. But he has no interest in me. General, please be at ease. Lucas seemed to think of something, his face full of contempt, tone somewhat sour. Perhaps you don't know, sometimes deliberately making things difficult isn't necessarily loathing. Could also be liking. That guy's been twisted since young. Who knows? But you don't need to be afraid of Marcus. From now on, every time we meet him, we'll beat him once. Today being able to slap him was already being pushed to the limit with all my courage. Thinking of beating him every time we meet Marcus in the future, I shrank my neck. I don't dare. Lucas suddenly picked me up. I screamed, instinctively hugging his neck. The next second my body was already floating in air. He placed me on the horse's back. I had never ridden a horse before, only daring to hold on tightly, not daring to move. But this floating feeling was very novel. After a while, I gathered courage to try sitting up straight. The horse was also very obedient. Lucas stood beside the horse, holding the reins tightly in his hand, turning to look at me. Sophia, want to try? He wore bright red robes like fire, his high ponytail blown by the wind. Lucas's eyes also burned bright like flames. With me here, I won't let you fall. From now on, whether you want to learn horse riding or sword fighting, I can teach you. I also want to take you back to Hangnan City to see the mountains and waters there, to show you Hang River where I once established brilliant military achievements. Lucas strode forward lightly, his bearing radiant. I couldn't help but curve my lips in a smile, carefully listening to every word he said. So this was the feeling of being loved and protected. Even through storms, there would always be someone behind protecting me. Just turning around, this life could still grow old together with white hair. During the time after, Lucas was very busy. However, he still made time to personally craft an extremely exquisite short sword for me. After receiving this gift, I admired it for a long time before discovering a small tassel hanging from the sword hilt. Though somewhat old, one could see its previous owner had treasured it greatly. The patterns on this sword sheath match mine as a pair. Seeing I liked it, Lucas curved his lips in a smile, continuing. This is my mother's sword tassel. After she passed, I always kept it as a memento. Now I give it along with this sword to you, consider it a protective charm. Wherever you go, with my sword and it beside you, you'll always be safe. In times of crisis, you can use it for self-defense. If you don't dare, just throw it to me. I'll definitely catch it, then immediately run to your side. Don't believe me? Let's try? I was overjoyed. After adjusting my posture, I tried Lucas's method. Indeed, he steadily caught it every time. But suddenly feeling he was like a big dog, I couldn't help laughing. Thank you for being so thoughtful. Indeed, very useful. Unexpectedly, Lucas coughed lightly, turning his face away, ears slightly red. If you really want to thank me, then let me kiss you. Or can I sleep in the bed tonight? I was silent for a long while. Lucas thought I was angry, hurriedly explaining. Don't misunderstand. That auxiliary bed is too small. I'm so tall, lying down hurts my back terribly. The weather's getting cold. 2 people sleeping together will be warmer. I sleep very well. Before letting him finish, I had already circled to before him, standing on tiptoes, closing my eyes. The moment warm lips touched, I quietly wrapped my arms, embracing Lucas's waist. Though this kiss was very brief, when opening my eyes, Lucas's face seemed even redder. He stood dumbfounded in place, on his face revealing a silly, foolish smile. So this General Shaw who won every battle had a bad habit. After kissing, he would become foolish like this. How could this work? Being looked at by his burning gaze like that, I also couldn't help blushing, softly answering, I'll listen to you. The next second I heard his joyful voice slightly rising. Really? Lucas raised eyebrows, smiling, using arms to embrace me, using an even more passionate kiss to drown me. Deputy Stone's voice suddenly rang from afar. Report, General. His Majesty has issued an order wanting you to, this. We too were caught by Deputy Stone. Deputy Stone's voice became smaller, hurriedly covering eyes, not daring to look anymore. Even if the sky collapses, you still get out for me. Old man with no eyes to see. Lucas still hadn't kissed enough, having no choice, had to tightly embrace me. His pair of eyes also were tinged with a layer of red flush. His tone wasn't very happy. Or you first handle your own matters. I pointed at his face, kindly reminding. Because, you're having a nosebleed. Hangnan City had matters happen again. The neighboring country Yi capital's new emperor had long targeted the key strategic location of Hangnan City. Taking advantage of Lucas staying in the capital, they directly dispatched personal soldiers disguised as refugees fleeing disaster to cross Hang River. His Majesty continuously issued 3 imperial orders commanding Lucas to return to defend Hangnan City. What was unexpected was Marcus actually also had his name on the list this time. Deputy Stone said this time the Crown Prince personally requested to secretly follow them on the expedition. Marcus stood in court before the civil and military officials expressing his wishes. This action first was wanting to train himself and share burdens for His Majesty. Second was because in recent years Hangnan often had conflicts with neighboring countries. Taking this opportunity could just help Lucas. After Lucas heard this news, he frowned continuously. That stupid mutt doesn't know how to fight and is coming here only adding hindrance for me. When fighting, I still have to protect his life. Truly troublesome. From after hearing this news, I was continuously anxious and worried. The prophesied deadline of 1 month was about to arrive. I truly worried, not knowing what exactly he wanted to do, so stubbornly insisted on following Lucas. Unable to change my mind, he also could only reluctantly take me along. But from after arriving at Hangnan City, Marcus then disguised himself as an ordinary soldier following beside Lucas. Though Marcus had no movements, I still continuously guarded against him. Even Lucas's food and drink, clothes and lodging all had to be tested by someone first. After confirming no problems, only then given to him. Sophia, I know you hate me. But I naturally must take the greater situation as priority. You don't need to guard against me like this. The great battle was approaching. On Lucas's command ship, it was even more brilliantly lit. They had already not slept for several nights straight, only waiting for this fierce battle. Marcus wore armor, encountering on the deck. I called to him. I asked, did Lucas die in this previous battle? Marcus leisurely looked at me. So what if he did? Indeed, no different from my guess. My heart couldn't help sinking. I advise you to find a retreat path for yourself early. Marcus, as if seeing through my thoughts, still calmly spoke poisonous words. I will try my best to change all this. Even if I cannot, I will also advance and retreat together. Live and die as one with Lucas. I precisely carried such thinking to approach that sincere person Lucas. He raised high a torch, letting me see light. From then afterward, he was precisely my only light. Truly deep feelings. He curled his lips. Sophia. If the one who dies is me, then what? Unbelievably, Marcus actually asked such a question. If there's such a good thing, I hope you die by my hand. Afterward I'll thank heaven for having eyes, subduing your house's evil demon. Marcus also laughed. People say one day as husband and wife is worth 100 days of grace. You treat Lucas like this, but are heartless toward me. You should go back. The person on the stairs is about to glare a hole through me. Turning around, indeed I saw Lucas full of anger striding toward here. That momentum was like wanting to chop Marcus right on the spot. I smiled, just about to walk toward Lucas. But the person behind suddenly calmly spoke up again. After Lucas died, only half a hand remained. Do you know why? Before I could react, on the water surface beside us transmitted a loud explosion. Like lightning and thunder booming, I hurriedly covered my ears. Sophia, be careful. I saw Lucas rush flying toward me. The flames on the water surface were like a fire dragon burning fiercely. The Yi capital army has fallen into the trap. Obediently return to the command ship and wait for me. Don't go anywhere. Lucas brushed my temple hair behind my ear. In his eyes were full of attachment and reluctance. Return safely. I tightly gripped his cold armor. I will. Lucas gave the short sword to me. Take it. In times of crisis you can still protect yourself. If I cannot return, then you. Lucas stopped a moment. Don't speak. I hurriedly covered his mouth. Lucas smiled, looking at me, kissing my palm. All right, I definitely will return. After saying that sentence, he turned and left, without any hesitation. After he left, I pulled out the armor I had secretly asked the military craftsman to make earlier, put it on my body. After that I snuck onto the deck. At this time the entire army had already entered combat readiness state to meet the Ye capital forces in battle. I saw Lucas standing on the ship bow, caressing his sword and lightly smiling. The youth at this moment was like the bright shining moon over the sea. At this Hang River, there still isn't anyone who can hold me back. When the gangways between ships gradually were connected, he drew his sword with a serious expression. Today those who dare invade Hang River, kill without mercy. The surrounding war horns rang deafeningly. My chest seemed to resonate along. Nearly all people let out roaring cries, together charging toward Lucas's command. Charge. The roaring mixed with the sound of ocean waves along with the continuous endless cannon sounds. Don't know how long had passed. Also don't know who shouted loudly. 1. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. All matters clearly were proceeding very smoothly. Right when I was about to step outside, the Crown Prince has arrived. Still not quickly kneeling down. Deputy Stone, who originally was always honest and simple, suddenly coldly spoke up, in his hand raising high some kind of command plaque. He suddenly exposed Marcus's identity, and Marcus, as if having already anticipated everything, calmly stood beside Lucas. On the ship in an instant divided into two factions. The Hangnan troops, originally still united against the enemy, at this time already had half the people pointing swords toward their comrades. Behind me suddenly understood the meaning in Marcus's words. Perhaps Lucas originally didn't fail at all, also didn't die in Hangnan. That's right, he was someone so loyal and righteous. How could he think there would be one day he'd be betrayed by the subordinate he trusted most? Come out, Sophia. Marcus looked toward me. Lucas was controlled by Marcus's people, forced to kneel on the ship's bow. The sword at his waist was also kicked flying to one side. My heart seemed about to shatter. I hurriedly ran forward. Marcus put on airs of superiority, looking down at me, blocking before Lucas. Lucas, actually a very long time ago something similar had already happened. At that time it was probably also like this. Just that in your hand you were tightly gripping a sachet. At that time I asked you, this sachet was given by whom? Why so important that even when dying you still had to tightly grip it? Afterward, cutting off half your hand, I only then saw on it embroidered 2 characters, Sophia. Sophia's sachet. I didn't understand what Marcus was saying. Lucas straightened his back, raising his head high, softly sighing. Deputy Sue, I truly trusted you. Though my mouth always complained about you, I truly regarded you as a brother. Deputy Stone turned his face away. It seemed his eyes were red, not saying anything. Marcus, if at this time I die here, then the merit of this battle naturally will be counted on your head. You'll also rightfully stabilize your crown prince position. Right? Lucas slowly said. Marcus laughed heartily. Smart indeed. It's just already too late. He suddenly leaned close, pinching my chin. Sophia, I already said. You cannot change anything. Because I am the one grasping everything. At this moment Lucas has already fallen into such a situation. Do you still want to live and die together with him? I was forced to raise my head. My hand quietly felt around my waist, but on my face I revealed a brilliant smile to Marcus. I'm wholeheartedly willing. But you will forever only be alone. Even down to the Yellow Springs you're destined to be a lonely ghost. Your whole life and existence swallowed by loneliness, living worse than death. Speaking to the end, I looked at him with eyes of extreme hatred. You. Marcus was about to be angered to death by me. He furiously used strength to choke my neck. It was precisely at this moment I quickly drew the short sword, throwing it toward Lucas. And he, with skills swift as lightning, in an instant already held the sword at Marcus's throat. The situation in an instant changed. Don't know who on the ship fired cannon fireworks. Following the deafening sound was the night sky brilliantly lit. From afar there were several large warships approaching. Marcus was stunned. It's Third Brother's ships. You all colluded together. Deputy Sue, didn't you know? Facing Marcus's fury, Deputy Sue was also helpless. Lucas slowly moved the sword to before Marcus's chest. Marcus, it's over. But Marcus, with a twisted face, stared at the Third Prince's warships growing closer, suddenly calmed down. Over, who said so? Lucas, you don't have the qualifications. I had an unlucky premonition. Don't. I screamed hoarsely. But it was already too late to stop him. I could only watch helplessly as this madman used my sword to stab straight into his own stomach. Lucas stood behind him, shocked. The sword in an instant had pierced through both people. From the corners of Marcus's mouth flowed fresh blood, along with blood flowers blooming on his body. He was both bewitchingly beautiful and sinister. Sophia, I already said, what I cannot have, you all also shouldn't hope to have. He staggered and fell forward. Right when Marcus almost grabbed my sleeve, Lucas desperately pulled out that sword, swinging toward Marcus's neck. Until both their bodies together fell into the river. Southern Calendar Year 5, the Hangnan Navy achieved great victory. Garrison General Shaw and Crown Prince Marcus went missing. From then on, there was often a woman who night after night came to the banks of Hang River crying for her deceased husband. From then on Hangnan City had no more war. The four seas were peaceful, favorable rain and harmonious wind. Shanghaiing miscellaneous documents and talks. What complete nonsense is all this? Little Maid angrily threw down the unofficial history book, crying and wailing. Madam, they wrote that both you and the general died. Truly absurd. Sophia, wearing a veil, sat on the wedding bed, gently comforting. Don't be angry anymore. Already said it was just casually taking a few books to read to pass the time in the boudoir. It's no problem. Little Maid nodded. Madame is right. Wait until later, when the general returns for the wedding night. Consummation with you is what's important. Why not read this one? The domineering prince dotes on his maid. The cold-faced general's excessive love. I am the divine doctor's poisonous consort through time. Excessive love. Sophia seemed somewhat surprised. Little maid giggled. I'm also very curious. How about I read it for you to hear? We can listen together to see exactly how this excessive love works. After the Hangnan battle, the third prince, now already the current crown prince Theodore Crown, sent people to search along Hang River for 3 whole days and nights before finding Lucas in a small fishing village. He had lost a lot of blood, but because he was recognized by the fishermen, the entire village exhausted all their strength to save and treat him, thus preserving his life. After a long period of recuperating from injuries, he returned to the capital. The first thing Lucas did was precisely to petition His Majesty for imperial grace. He wanted Sophia to be his one and only wife. Thus, with wedding palanquins and music stretching 10 miles above, and common citizens of the capital standing on both sides of the road offering congratulations below. Old Madame Shaw was moved to tears, personally sewing the wedding dress for Sophia, and also buying a residence for her. All face was given for her to be married off in a magnificent and grand manner. Lucas rode on horseback, finally marrying the girl he loved. Tonight was precisely the night Sophia, with the status of legitimate wife, was married into the Shaw family for the wedding night consummation. Madam, the general has arrived. Little maid hurriedly withdrew. This time Lucas's actions were very practiced and nimble. It's just that he didn't expect as soon as he lifted the wedding veil, he would meet a pair of eyes staring straight at him. Lucas. You fraud. General Shaw panicked. On the ship I already promised you I would definitely return. Haven't I done it? Little ancestor, why would I deceive you? That sachet Marcus mentioned. What exactly was it? What was that matter? Lucas scratched his head, somewhat embarrassed, sitting down beside Sophia. Listen to me tell you. That year Lucas wasn't yet General Shaw. He was just a bratty kid, a tyrannical bully that made everyone in Hangnan City tremble with fear. Those matters like meeting evil bullies forcibly taking civilian women, poor scholars losing money, and so on and so forth, all those weak people needing help, basically all had once received young Master Shaw's kindness. Of course there were also times of carelessness, for example accidentally knocking over an entire row of street vendors on the road. Because of this old General Shaw was almost tormented crazy by him, always talking about wanting to bring him back to the capital. Hangnan City had a custom, regardless of whose family's son, at the coming-of-age ceremony when turning 20 years old, all had to participate in a boat racing competition. Only the person who won first place had the qualifications to receive the reward. That year Lucas rowed a small red boat, wearing red clothes, and won first place. The youth brilliant as a rainbow made everyone amazed. So afterward every time mentioning Lucas's handsome bearing on the water, everyone respectfully called him the Marquis of Hang River. Right when everyone was surrounding him with praise, don't know whose face veil flew down from the bridge, just happening to land on Lucas's face, making him incomparably embarrassed, dampening his momentum. Whose face veil is this? Don't let me catch you. Lucas angrily roared, looking up at the sky and shouting loudly. 3 steps combined into 2, he just charged up onto the bridge railing, blocking Sophia. So it's actually a young lady. That pair of eyes sparkling like water carried confusion looking straight at him. Lucas suddenly felt his face burning hot. Even speaking seemed to become stuttering. From then on, he seemed to also develop this bad habit. This is yours. He couldn't describe what that heart-pounding feeling in his chest was. He just hurriedly threw the face veil back to that young lady. She looked very beautiful. The people of Hangnan City always said the most beautiful young lady must be like mountains and water. Mountains are where eyebrows gather. Water is sparkling phoenix eyes. That young lady wore white clothes, with delicate eyebrows, looking incomparably weak and lovely. Weren't that pair of her sparkling eyes even more beautiful than the mountains and waters of Hangnan City? What are you looking at? Actually, he didn't want to be so fierce. He just wanted to ask what her name was, whose family's daughter she was. Perhaps because from childhood he had rolled around in the military ranks, momentarily couldn't control his tone. His voice was still loud. Lucas miscalculated. That young lady was scared and ran away. Looking at him was like looking at a ghost. It's just that in her hurry, a sachet rolled tumbling down to his feet. Afraid most, Lucas picked up the sachet, also memorizing this name in his heart. Afterward he searched all over Hangnan City, nearly turning the ground upside down. There were Wang Sophia, Lu Sophia, Li Sophia, But their eyes all weren't like that pair of eyes that made him think of them day and night. Lucas kept that sachet for many years like that. Until his father died in battle, Lucas seemed to mature overnight. He took over his father's responsibilities, for the common people, had no choice but to enter the capital. He had thought they would never meet again. But after returning to the capital, only then did he know the Chen family's obedient and calm second daughter was named Sophia. So you remembered for so long. After hearing this story's explanation, Sophia wanted both to cry and laugh. This name was just casually given by father. She was born on the first day of the month, so carelessly got a name like this. But for Lucas it became years of longing and missing. Meeting him was her 3 lifetimes of good fortune. That's natural. Lucas was overjoyed beyond measure. But why did you suddenly cooperate with the third prince? Sophia was somewhat hesitant. She said she knew palm reading, and also said I would have love at first sight for her, even more infatuated when meeting again. So accurate like that, naturally I had to believe it. He was somewhat drunk, squinting his eyes, fiercely pinching her cheek. My wife is truly soft. As for Deputy Stone, it was also after that matter that I only then thoroughly investigated the people around me, discovering he had long ago had intentions of betrayal. So I deliberately spread false information about cooperating with the third prince, also giving him one last chance. It's just he didn't grasp it. General Shaw was just an obedient husband who listened to his wife. Where would he have any evil schemes? It was also her words reminding me to be a bit more careful, which wasn't excessive. But that wicked Marcus was truly very detestable. That sword stab hurt me so much I wanted to die. Woo woo, wife, I'm in so much pain. Lucas suddenly curled up on the bed, crying and wailing noisily. Sophia frowned. It hurts again. She lowered her head, hurriedly checking Lucas's wound. Lucas softly laughed once, taking the opportunity to grab Sophia's hand. He quietly blew out the candles, lowering the bed curtains. It's just no one knew, in the previous life it was also precisely such a fated encounter that made Lucas unable to forget for so many years. After the Hangnan battle, he planned after returning victorious to petition His Majesty for imperial grace to marry the Chen family's second daughter. The night before that battle, he was even too excited to sleep. He ran to the ship's bow and stood for half the night. Deputy Stone went out to relieve himself and was startled by him. He only saw Lucas standing there as if possessed by demons, caressing the sachet with a silly smile. It wasn't the wind moving, nor the flat moving, but his heart moving. What a pity Lucas couldn't return. Of course he also didn't know the Sophia he thought of day and night had long been violated. That life, Lucas died in Heng River's cold waters, stabbed through the heart by someone's sword, and also had half his hand chopped off. The wound was horrifying down to the bone. Before closing his eyes, Lucas still tightly gripped that sachet, missing the weak girl he hadn't had time to marry. He had someone he loved in distant places. As for Sophia, in November of that year, she died alone from illness in the Deep Palace. Desperate. Before breathing her last, she spat a mouthful of fresh blood onto the yellowed face veil beside her bed. Both didn't die good deaths. Until death, they also never met again. Outside the window, the full moon hung high. Tonight's wedding candles were richly colored, the bed curtains bright red. Moonlight blended with love, swaying together. This time, the ones he and she missed were both by each other's side. The story teaches us that true love is not built on power or calculation, but comes from sincerity and mutual respect. Marcus Crown, with all his authority, remains forever lonely because he only knows possession and manipulation. In contrast, Lucas Shaw with his pure heart conquered Sophia through gentleness and protection. Fate gives us chances to start over, but what matters is having the courage to change and choose the right path.